2023 AP Microeconomics Monopoly FRQ. So part 1 is just asking us to draw a monopoly that is making profit. Just make sure to label our axes, price and quantity. Our marginal revenue curve is always half the distance from the demand curve for monopolies. Total cost. The ATC curve always intersects the MC curve at its lowest point. Remember, it's always MR is equal to MC, and that's always your quantity. But then to get your price, you have to go up to demand. And then they want us to fill in the deadweight loss, so it looks something like this. Deadweight loss always points towards the socially optimal quantity, which is always the intersection of supply and demand, which is this point right here. RKB to produce at the allocatively efficient quantity, which is the quantity socially optimal as I've labeled here. It's always the intersection of supply and demand. So for a first option, it's a binding price ceiling. If a binding price ceiling was instituted at price EQ, P equilibrium, that would actually be perfect because producers would be willing to produce all the way up until this quantity because that's where supply intersects this price, and consumers would be willing to consume up to this quantity because that's where demand intersects price. And so producers would produce the quantity socially optimal so that at least their profit box would be a little bit greater. Price floor, that actually wouldn't do anything because producers wouldn't care. They would just produce above that price at price PM. A per unit tax would shift your MC curve up a little bit as I've shown here, and then producers would produce where MR is equal to MC and their quantity would actually get smaller. So we're moving away from where we want to be, which is the socially optimal quantity. And then a lump sum tax would just change your ATC curve, but that wouldn't intersect the quantity that producers produce because MR and MC are not changing. For part C, consumers become aware of research that confirms this device that RKB produces harms people's health. And so obviously that's going to cause demand to shift left. And so this would be your new demand curve. And that would actually cause your marginal revenue curve to decrease as well. And so you always produce where MR is equal to MC, which means that your quantity is going to decrease. Part D, we're asked to draw a perfectly competitive labor market graph. So the difference between this and a product market graph is that this time the suppliers are the households and the consumers are the businesses, not the other way around. This is our wage and just a quantity of workers. So if immigration increases, then the number of laborers will increase, and so supply will shift right. Rim wage will be W2 and our quantity will be Q2. For part 3, this is based on the least cost rule. Marginal product of labor divided by the price of labor should equal the marginal product of capital divided by the price of capital. And so capital is $500. The marginal product is $2,500. Labor is $1,000. And so the price of labor is $200. Let me know any questions in the comments below, and comment if you want to see videos on AP Calc BC, AP Physics, AP Micro or Macro, or AP Chem.